Oh, we're streaming now.
That Dallas Keuchel question I asked was a good one,
That was
wasn't
a
it?
pretty good question, yeah. And
It ended up being,
and he's been killing it.
yeah.
I got audio.
No, he hasn't. You don't know anything about baseball. You're a Braves fan.
Whatever.
Braves suck.
Audio's on, by the way. No one wants. No one wants to hear that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Lights on or off?
I don't care.
You look better with the lights on.
They're really bright.
If you turn the lights off, Sasha might snore.
That's
I
all right.
don't think there's a grizzly bear.
Is
in
that
the
too
room.
dark?
No, I think
I
that's
know.
good.
That's good.
Let's go with that.
There's a grizzly bear.
More of a walrus into your face.
Did you say there's a walrus?
Yes, it's called you.
What was that?
You broke
Wait,
something.
I have no audio through my headphones over here.
You probably should plug them in.
I'm on 3, right?
Just don't turn mine up any more than it already is.
Yeah, because my stuff is loud.
You can adjust it however you want.
Test. No.
Hello. 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 Hello.
What about, is it those?
No.
That's mine.
Oh, okay.
You just messed with mine. There you go.
You're on 3 though, or I'm on 3.
Yeah, you just messed with 4 though.
No, that's 4. That's 3.
You just messed with 4.
Okay.
Because it just like put some stack. No, not. Never mind. Just forget it.
So why is it?
Doesn't even look like. Hold on. Plug that in again. That doesn't even fit in there.
I've used these before.
Not here. You haven't.
Used them once before.
Well, Paul, that's why Andrew's here.
Nothing. That's all right. You know what? Just don't worry about it. I'll use the
He just solved your problem.
maybe.
I believe in him. It actually fits.
Andrew for the win.
Hey, it's not the problem. Hey.
Andrew for the win.
Life-saving Andrew here.
I like you, Andrew.
MVP.
I'm Nathan.
Yeah, no, we do
Nice
too.
to meet you.
He's a good guy. All right, ready? Yeah, absolutely.
Don't talk nice about him because he's here. You always talk shit when he leaves.
No, I. You use me all the time. Ready? You put words in my mouth.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I'm
I'm
good.
ready to go. Puts words in my mouth. Andrew.
Never mind.
I take back my words. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Paul Epi. As usual, I am joined by my good friend and co-host, Alex Schneider, and together we are the 11th inning stretch. Alex, it's been 2 weeks since I've been on the mic. Obviously, 1 week since our last show. It's been a while since we've talked. How are we doing today?
Very tired, wore out, ready for my vacation.
You have vacation coming up tomorrow,
Yes.
which is, well, you're heading down to Florida while I'm stuck here in St. Louis for the next week before I get shipped off to New York City. So it's going to be changes coming here on the show, but we'll get to that later. And we're sort of playing it by ear, but we still have some things to figure out as well. So let's get right to baseball. We have a lot to talk about, both in Cardinals world and really both in the league too. We have a lot of league notes, but first let's get to the Cardinals. And I also want to introduce a guest for today's show. Alex, you brought in a buddy last week for last week's show in my wisdom tooth absence. And we're bringing in another guest for today's show who you will probably be hearing more of due to the fact that I will be gone and I will not be on every show over the summer. I want to introduce Nate. Nate,
Hi, guys.
how are we doing today?
Nate
Good.
in air quotes, Pirates guy.
Pirates guy.
Yeah, we'll call him Pirates Guy for the sake of this show. And for those of you who don't get the Pirates reference, towards the beginning of the season when we were talking on Alex, I think it was the preseason prediction show.
Yeah, it was.
Coming
Yeah,
from
yeah,
a loyal
yeah, he
I know
knows.
it
He
was.
knows. Nate told Alex that he thinks the Pirates are going to come in second place?
I
Or
think I said they'd finish second.
He said that they would
ahead of
finish
the
above
Cardinals?
the Cardinals, and he said the Cubs were taking first place, and he thought the Cardinals were going to take third, and he said the Pirates were finishing second.
Yeah, that's what I said.
So
So he went to an insane asylum for a minute. Got
So,
his
yeah,
brain checked. Real
so
quick.
that's how we refer to him as Pirates guy, and we'll give you a chance to either back up the statement or retract the statement or just sort of
he's not retracting it.
do whatever you want to do with that statement. Because if you
Well-
still stand behind that, that's totally okay, even though we still disagree with you on the show.
Pirates guy is not normally how people refer to me. I'm normally the Braves fan. Everywhere
And
I go.
and he's
Since
and
there's
he's
not
wearing the
many
Braves
around here.
hat as well. I mean, for those viewers not watching, or sorry, yeah, so. For those watching on YouTube, there's no camera hooked up for Nate, but he is wearing a Atlanta Braves. It
'Cause he's an
looks like a batting
ugly
practice
dude.
hat.
It's
it a batting practice hat?
it's their spring training tomahawk
Spring training.
hat.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
right.
Tommy Hawk.
So feel free to chime in literally whenever you want. We are not very strict here on this show in terms
The
of talking.
sad thing is with Nate on the show, as much as he loves talking baseball, this show might go for the next 24 hours.
Well, we will cut that off when the time comes. But we extend a warm welcome to you, and
Thank you.
we're happy to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, Alex, we have, like I said, a lot to get to for the Cardinals, mainly concerning the Boston Red Sox series. The Cardinals lost their two little short series, if you want to call it a series, against the Boston Red Sox. That was on Tuesday and Wednesday. And for me, the big reason why they lost the series was, again, because of the defense. They committed 5 errors in total. I believe it was 3 on Tuesday and then 2 on Wednesday. And also the Boston bullpen really just shut them down from beginning to end. It was quite impressive what they were able to do, specifically on Wednesday. So I want to get your quick thoughts on that series, and Nate, again, feel free to chime in whenever you want.
Well, from the limited video that I've been able to see, given the fact that I've had a pretty busy week, a big thing to me that I saw, I want to say was the first game. The game led off with a homer.
Mhm.
I mean, how can you?
But both games did. Tuesday night had a leadoff homer from Betts, and then the Cardinals had a leadoff homer on Wednesday in the bottom of the first inning from Dexter Fowler.
The thing is when your pitcher goes out, the first batter of the game usually sets the tone for the rest of the game. And when your pitcher gives up a home run, you're already down 1-0, and there is no outs recorded. You still have 27 more outs to go. So that kind of set the tone for that game.
That'll take the wind out of your sails.
Oh,
for
yeah,
sure.
I mean, it's just totally just takes. I mean, you go out there, you're pumped up for the game, and the next thing you know, you got a ball flying over the fence,
Right.
and it's just like, why, what happened,
Mhm.
And not saying the pitchers can't make mistakes or nothing, but a mistake like that shouldn't be made in the first inning. Like, you literally don't even have 10 pitches underneath your belt yet, and you're literally putting it on a tee for other players. The second game wasn't that. Weren't
That
they
was
both
the
extra
13
innings?
No, the game on Tuesday night was not. That was a full. This is 9 innings. The
Okay.
game on Wednesday, I actually have some funny stories about Wednesday. I was at the game with a buddy of mine from high school. We decided to go, and it was a mess. That's typically what 13 plus innings will do to you, both as a fan and as a player. But the game Wednesday was the real disappointing one, because Rick Porcello goes out there and he allows 4 runs in the first 2 innings, and he looks like the Detroit Tigers Rick Porcello. He does not look like the Boston Red Sox Rick Porcello that we saw last year. Who
No, he looks like the first year Boston Red Sox Rick Porcello.
Well,
he
he
wasn't
wasn't-
half bad with the Tigers.
he was okay. He wasn't great though.
But his first year with the Red Sox was
He's-
borderline.
this year
awful.
he's really slid off. I mean, he hasn't pitched well at all. This
Come
year
back to
so
earth.
far.
and that's sort of what the Cubs are seeing too, in terms of just the pitching staff was so good last year. They were due for a regression. It's a regression to the mean. It's going to happen. It always happens, and it happened.
Unless your name's Clayton Kershaw.
Well, he's just the best pitcher on the damn planet. But yeah, but Porcello, he looked terrible on Wednesday night. And in the second inning, the Cardinals had the bases loaded with, I believe, one out maybe, and they only ended up getting like one run in. I'm kind of pulling numbers from thin air from just what I remember on Wednesday night. But they had the bases loaded with one out, and they didn't get all that many runs, and that kind of ended up costing them the game, in my opinion, because you had the bases loaded and you don't get more than one run in with less than 2 outs against a very hittable Rick Porcello. And then the Red Sox chip away at them very slowly throughout the rest of the game. And what do you know? The Red Sox win 13 innings.
That's the difference between what you'll see is good teams and then like mediocre teams.
Right.
When at certain times of the season, the good teams usually maintain throughout the whole season that if they're behind early, they will tick away. They may not win the ball game, but they will take notches out of that lead and make it a ball game. Cardinals were like that when they went on their hot stretch, and then it seems, they're like now it looks like after the Boston Red Sox series, obviously it was just 2 games, but it seems to me from what I've seen and what I've heard that it wasn't just a pitcher's issue, is the offense, was like you play 13 innings and if you can't score more, if you score 4 runs in the first 2 innings and you can't score one more, that's an offensive problem.
You got to think that part of that had to be a momentum shift for the Red Sox to get out of a bases-loaded jam like that, not giving up very many runs.
Well, yeah, I mean
and maybe that's what happened in that situation. Cause
it's just your offense is there to score runs, and if they don't do it, that means the momentum goes to the team playing defense, and then they come back and tick away at your lead.
Mm-hmm.
The momentum stays with them no matter how long it takes, no matter how many innings. Usually, if there's a big shift like that, the person that gets the hammer on the momentum usually ends up coming out on top.
You got to think being ahead 4-0, you're in the driver's seat. It's a winnable game. You're up 4-0 on the Boston Red Sox. You got to put it away.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
bases loaded,
You
you've
can't
got to score some runs.
Well,
in my
even
opinion.
4-0 after the second inning.
And the score was 4-0 through 6 innings.
See, I mean, they're in the driver's seat. Those are the ball games that great teams win when you're up 4-0 going into the later innings of the game.
Right.
You can't let them come back in the game.
No, not at all.
Alex, you know more about the Red Sox than probably anybody else in this room because they are your second favorite team, as you said, and so feel free to correct me or to interject or do whatever. But that Boston bullpen on Wednesday night was shut down. It was really good, and as I was sitting there watching the game, you start to see that bullpen empty out physically. Like there's no physical bodies in the Red Sox bullpen, and you're thinking, well, they might have to throw out Hanley Ramirez to go pitch here pretty soon. No, they actually found the bodies, and Porcello went 6 innings, and then the bullpen held them from there on. And Joe Kelly, the former Cardinal, he was good. Craig Kimbrell is having an incredibly underrated season, in my opinion. He is.
I just looked up
so
his
good.
ERA, and it's below 1.
It's 1.
He's given
Yeah.
up 2 runs all year long.
As of Tuesday night, when I was watching the Cardinal game, they said that righties are like 0 for 31 against him this season, and some stupid number like that. It's like why is
His
nobody talking
strikeout
about
to
him?
walk right now, I just looked it up as well on the way here, and it's 17-1.
It's nuts.
That's
And
ridiculous.
some of these other guys in the bullpen, Kimbrell, Hembry. Again, I don't know all their first names. Alex, you may know them. Abad, Taylor, who ended up getting the save. They were, the Cardinals really did not. They look clueless against them. So while the Cardinals really should have won that game, I do have to credit the Red Sox bullpen for holding a pretty decent Cardinals offense to 0 runs over 10 innings.
The thing is and this isn't just the Red Sox bullpen. I mean, if you look around the league, obviously, if they're not your favorite team, you're going to look at teams and you're going to say, "Oh, I've never heard of this reliever, I've never done that." People, what it used to be is you found some pitchers that could throw multiple innings and you threw them in your bullpen. Now you have specific job people. You have the lefty-lefty matchup. You have the lefty specialist, basically. That was Kevin Segrist a couple years ago, which is Brett Cecil now.
Randy
if he's still
Choate.
there. Randy Choate. Like, it's those guys. So when you make a bullpen, a team goes after those guys because I don't know all of the Red Sox bullpen. I don't know exactly who's who, but you may send a bot out there for one batter, and he's going to do his job. And then if he goes out and does his job, and then the next guy comes in and does his, that whole bullpen looks good. And the bullpen is good. Like, don't get me wrong, the Boston Red Sox team, in my opinion, other than the Cubs on paper, is the best team in the major leagues right now.
I could agree with that.
On paper, those two teams are the best. Only difference between the two is the Red Sox are showing why they're the best, and the Cubs are not. So Red Sox are gonna come back and win games like that. That's why I was just saying the good teams that maintain a good season are teams like the Red Sox of this year. Well, they will tick away to lead to hopefully either get tied or win the ball game. They may not always win it, but they will
They're
tick
gonna make
away.
it close.
The mediocre teams, if they get down, they don't tick away at that lead.
Mhm.
They literally, you'll see. I couldn't tell you how many times I've watched a Cardinal game, and you might do the same thing with a Braves game, where for us the Cardinals are down 4-0, and you literally can turn the TV off because the score doesn't change.
As a Braves fan, I'm sure you are used to turning the TV off.
The game they played against the Blue Jays yesterday was brutal.
We'll get to that. Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you what, like, if you're a Red Sox fan, then you better get used to seeing your team tick away at those leads. And I tell you what, I've shut the TV off multiple times on a Cardinal game just because I know that lead isn't going to change whether I sit here and watch it or not.
I think a big thing for bullpens, if you have a guy like Craig Kimbrell who's throwing lights out.
Did you just mispronounce his
Yeah, I
name?
did.
And he was a Brave.
I know.
Oh, my Lord.
When you have a guy like that who's throwing lights out, it's got to give you some confidence for the rest of the guys in the bullpen, knowing that guy's there and nobody's going to score when he's on the mound.
And this Taylor guy who ended up getting the save, that was his first career save. That's a good point, I think, is when you see Kimbrel go out there and the Cardinals or anybody else have absolutely zero chance, that might give him some confidence.
Mm-hmm. And maybe it takes the wind out of the Cardinals' sails even more.
What it is here's the thing. Even if you play high school, junior high ball, minor league ball, major league ball, you got a guy like Craig Kimbrell. Wow,
you can't say his name right either. Yeah.
But he wasn't a Cardinal, so I can do that.
Oh, come on.
But you got a guy like him in your bullpen. You look at every other reliever, and if somebody asks them, what is your thought process when you go out onto the mound? A lot of times they're going to say, look, my job is to complete my assignment so that the next guy can do his to get to that guy.
Right.
Absolutely.
They're not out there saying, well, it's to win the game. No, it's out there to do his job so that it gets in the hands of Kimbrel to close everything out. Because they know if they do their part, the
It's
next
over.
guy should do their part,
It's over.
and it keeps going down the line. And then when Kimbrel comes in, game's done. It's over.
This is my last point on the Cardinals-Red Sox series. Can we discuss Mookie Betts?
He's a stud.
He's a stud.
Period.
Look, to be honest with you, I have not watched him much over the course of his short career because I don't particularly like the Red Sox. I don't have much of a reason to watch them. It's just not something that I've really felt overly compelled to do. Oh my God, dude, he is
one
so good. I mean, I was sitting there with my buddy on Wednesday night. He was screaming to basically himself and me. Does he ever get out? Can the Cardinals ever get him? Can anybody get this guy out?
He is one of the legit 5-tool stud players
Yeah.
in the major leagues, and there's not very many of them at
And
all.
He got on base in maybe the 12th, 11th inning. I don't know. And then he steals a base. No, he didn't come around and score, but it doesn't matter. He still stole a base in the extra innings of a ball game.
And you got to think, too, like, so you see a team, you see the Red Sox come into town at Busch Stadium, and their leadoff guy is doing that. And then you look at our leadoff guy, Dexter Fowler, who this far has not lived up to his contract.
Mhm.
He's supposed to be doing that exact same thing and has not delivered.
Makes you jealous.
So you
that.
literally have to sit there and go, okay, that guy can do it with no problem. He's doing it with ease. There's literally no pressure on him, and he's in Boston. You're talking about St. Louis. If you think that there's pressure in Boston or that he didn't have no pressure, then I'll tell you what, Dexter Fowler there's no pressure at
Zero.
all on him. Like,
Yeah, 0.
it's a breeze for you. That's the biggest problem right now that I see with the Cardinals. We went out and spent money, which I still think is going to be a good contract. But he hasn't delivered. And I'll be honest with you, his defense in center field
Not that great.
hasn't been any different than Randall Grichuk in center field. He literally hasn't done anything that Randall Grichuk couldn't do.
I think the big thing for the Cardinals is, I know you guys are Cardinals fans, so you're probably going to think I'm crazy, but
I already think you're crazy.
they
You're
need-
a Braves fan.
they need a thumper in that lineup bad.
Well,
Because you get somebody in there who can hit, and you're going to throw better pitches to the guy before him, so you don't have to face him.
It's sad when
that's not a crazy comment by any stretch.
no,
Alex.
and it's
Go ahead.
and it's sad the fact that when we signed Dexter Fowler and when the first projected lineup came out, everybody's looking at the hole in the 8-hole with Colton Wong, and it's sad to say that that's the best hitter on the team. When Dexter Fowler,
We're not even going to mention Colton Wong, and that's a good thing, is because he's
Yeah.
been doing his job.
well, offensively, defensive,
Yeah.
shaky,
Yeah.
actually really shaky, but Dexter Fowler was supposed to have the numbers that Colton Wong is having.
Mhm.
So him batting number 1 right now doesn't seem like a great idea.
Well, that's the thing. Who do you have in that lineup that you don't want to groove a fastball to?
Who in the Cardinals lineup? You mean?
Yeah.
That you don't want to groove. Ooh.
Who's a guy that you're like, all right, I'm not throwing him a fastball down the middle? There ain't one. And that's
Crickets.
that.
Yeah.
That brings me to something I just wanted to mention. Freddie Freeman's having an MVP type year.
Until he got
and just
drilled in the wrist.
Gets 10 weeks out, and that's going to decimate the Braves because now you don't have a thumper.
Oh man, they would have finished like 50 games under 500. Now it's going to be 70.
With him
Oh.
in the lineup and Matt Kemp behind him, they're both hitting over 300. Got a bunch of bombs, doubles, you name it. And now Freeman's gone, so why not pitch to Matt Kemp? Why not throw on the corners?
Mhm.
You
Well,
know?
and if you think about it, since Albert Pujols left the Cardinals, that's been the issue.
Yep.
There's nobody in the line. Granted, Matt Holliday would hit you his 20 to 25 bombs,
He's as close as you've been.
and that's it. But when you had, you had Matt Holliday, you had Carlos Beltran, you had
Lance Berkman.
Albert Pujols, you had Lance Berkman. You're talking 4 guys that literally lived hitting.
Or even go further back. Pujols, Edmonds, Roland.
Literally.
You need to have a thumper in that lineup. If they're gonna make any noise in the playoffs, they have to get
That's
a
not
big bat.
Yeah, that's not an unfair statement, really, by
The,
no.
the biggest issue is you have guys on your team, and this is the problem I think that baseball has. To me, and we literally just talked about this for our softball team. When you're the GM or you're the manager, you want to put the best team out there to help the team win. But you have your GM, and this is nothing against John Mozeliak. This is every GM in the league. If the public comes out and is outraged about what happened or did this, guess what the GM's compelled to do? His job is to put fans in the seats, to form a team and then to put fans in the seats. And if your whole city is outraged because your lineup is different, you have to change it. Otherwise, you make no money.
Right.
So you could go out and get a thumper. I'd love to see a Jose Abreu in a Cardinal uniform. I'd love to see that. I think that'd be great. But then you're going to have people complaining like they did before the season. Well, Jed Jerko hit 30 bombs last year, and he's not a starter. There's a reason for that.
Well, adding one player doesn't only improve your lineup having that one player. Putting a guy like that in there would make Piscotty and Adams and all these other guys better just having him around them.
I understand, but the difference is you're talking to probably like us 3 here in this room talking baseball is basically a minority group of baseball fans, because we know that if you put a hitter like that in your lineup, not only does it help just the lineup in general, but it helps everybody
Right.
down the lineup. Normal baseball fans see Jed Jerko not in the lineup and Carpenter back at third and think 30 bombs last year, why isn't he in your lineup? Because there's a reason. He's not an everyday player.
This was the case to sign Edwin Encarnacion, essentially. Is basically what Nate just said is you need a 35 home run guy in that lineup. Encarnacion is the only one available. You might want to go sign him.
But the
But
problem there is, you can't drop $20 million on a player that's going to strike out 200 times a year.
Yeah.
It's the same reason
Cardinals
why.
tried that with Mark Reynolds, basically.
Right. It's the same reason why when they were talking about re-signing Pujols, I told all my friends that were Cardinals fans, I said, hey, you probably don't really want him, especially for $250 million in 10 years.
No, you don't want him.
You don't.
You
It's
don't.
not worth it. You can spend that money elsewhere. And at first, they were looking really damn good. I mean, they had Alan Craig, who was world beater at that time.
They got to a World Series.
I mean, they got to a World Series right after letting him go. It looked like a really great idea not to re-sign him. But now they're in a position where they don't have that player, and I think that's what's really hurting the Cardinals.
Well, and here's I got 2 points. One on yours, Mark Reynolds thing. Yeah, Mark Reynolds might strike out a lot, but
He's doing really well in Colorado.
They
don't get me
still
wrong.
won 100 games with him almost playing every day at first base. So you can live with some strikeouts if you have no power in your lineup, but you have one guy that you know is going to hit you almost 30 bombs a year, but he might strike out. You can live with that.
That's a good point.
The issue is with Edwin Encarnacion is you're not signing a first baseman. You're signing a DH, putting him at first base.
Well,
Who can also play first base.
Yeah,
And
his
how-
primary position is DH.
How much are you going to spend on that guy? That's the other question. They didn't give Mark Reynolds that much money like what Edwin Encarnacion was looking for. That's another thing where that's a very fine line. Are you going to pay him $20 million a year to strike out 200 times, hit 30 bombs? Is that worth it to you? Or do you want to spend, I don't know, I'm guessing Mark Reynolds is probably around 10, 12 million a year and do the same thing, maybe strike out a little more often.
Exactly.
He's also hitting in Colorado right now.
Oh, yeah, right
that's-
now he's hitting.
That's a whole different conversation, of course.
But here's
Colorado's the place
Here's
for
the
him.
thing that I want to say too. So I don't remember who I was talking to about it. It might have been you, but I had said it was actually last night before our softball game. I'd really what I want the Cardinals to do is I don't want them to go out and look for just that one tool player. You know, he's got power, or he's got defense. Why don't you look at a player that's got a couple tools that are coming up on free agency? You're talking like
I have a name for you.
You're talking like a Mike Moustakas who plays good defense, makes good contact, and hits power. You're talking 3 tools. He doesn't just hit or he doesn't just play defense. The one big one that I would love the Cardinals to go after is Manny Machado.
Yeah.
You couldn't pick a more complete player than Manny Machado.
Can
a
you
power
imagine
bat.
how? I mean, and he hasn't even reached his peak yet. I mean, he's only 25,
Well,
26.
and that's my question then.
He's
Is he-
23
Is he still worth that money?
or 24.
No, I think Harper's 23. Maybe I'm okay. Anyway,
Harper is
go on.
23.
Okay.
But can you still put a team around him at that point? Are you still going to have quality players around him? Do
As
the Cardinals have
every-
that kind of money?
Everybody right now that is under contract would be there
Okay.
for multiple years after you sign Manny Machado.
See, I don't know. I'm not a Cardinals fan. So
Well,
I
because
didn't
if you
know
think
that.
about it, the newest one has been Dexter Fowler, which was a 4-year deal, wasn't it? No, it was a 5-year deal. So you're not talking this year, so you got to take that one off, and it's after next year. So he's still got 3 years after Manny Machado would be here.
Mhm.
Matt Carpenter,
Yadier Molina.
Yadier Molina is still under contract. Matt Carpenter's not
Colton
going
Wong.
nowhere.
What
Colton
about
Wong.
what about the rotation? Martinez is there, right?
Martinez
Reyes,
would be there.
Reyes,
Reyes would be there.
Leak.
Leak is still there.
Okay.
After
think-
that, you're getting more into the prospect.
Right.
Yeah,
I think
which
you'd be in a good position if you got Manny Machado.
Which the thing is too is the Cardinals pitching prospects, they're not, some guy they picked up off the street.
Right.
Like their pitching prospects are really, really good.
Right.
So you could put a team around him. And that's a good argument to make. But if you go out and you get one, you spend because Manny Machado obviously we all know is not going to be cheap.
He might make $30 million a year.
Exactly.
I bet it's more than that even.
But you're talking about a guy that you sign. You open up that checkbook and you make that sign. But you know that not only is there a team around him that knows how to win, that's been there, that's done that, but you're also getting a guy that literally has 5 tools.
Yeah.
He runs, plays defense, hits for power, has contact. What's the other tool? I lost it.
I have no idea. I wasn't even paying that
Power,
close of attention.
Contact, defense, speed, arm. And
He's
Manny
gotta have
Machado
an
doesn't have an
arm,
arm. But
The one thing that he would be lacking out of all 5 of those is maybe a little speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's about as close to a 5 tool as you can get
Who cares, honestly,
without
about
having
that?
it.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
well, here's
When
the
you're
thing:
hitting
and-
doubles like he does at a ridiculous rate.
or if he gets on a hot streak where he's hitting a home run every day for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
It's you don't need speed if you can just jog the bases.
that's right.
But that's the thing is the Cardinals haven't signed a big player like that. So since I've started watching them, they might have done it years and years ago. I highly doubt it. But
They've never been that kind of team, and that's part of what makes the Cardinals who they are.
it is.
They
but
build
I think
their team from the farm system.
I think if you look at this year's team and you see the things that are wrong with it, why not change it up? Why not go something that you're not normally doing and see what happens? I can sit here and give you 4 days to tell me a negative thing about signing Manny Machado, and none of them would be accurate.
I don't think I could come up with one.
Exactly.
And that's
Other
why
than
he's
the
going to be.
checkbook.
And that's why he's going to be sought after by 30 major league teams.
Yeah. I see him somewhere in between 30 to 35 million a year for
And
a 10-year
Harper might
deal.
be pushing 40.
Yeah, I think Harper will be 400 million 10
Yeah.
years
We say
for sure.
okay. This is totally off point from the Cardinals, and I want to get to one more thing on them. But just a quick poll: where does Bryce Harper sign? I said Yankees. Nate, what do you say?
It's going to be Boston or New York.
Okay, Alex,
I don't see him going anywhere else.
got to pick a team right now.
Well, that's hard. He's not signing with the Nationals again.
No.
There's no way.
Blue Jays might be a dark horse for him.
Maybe Dodgers.
That could be too.
Dodgers,
I think we've named all the ones that are probably.
Yeah.
If it's going to happen, those are going to be the
Right.
ones.
honestly, the Dodgers and Red Sox right now for me are probably my top 2 front runners.
Okay.
But a team that I think that could maybe slide in there, and it's if they somehow get the team back together for what it was, is the Giants.
Sure.
you think
I could
about
see it.
If you think about it, their team, a lot of their core pieces that were there when they won are no longer there.
I think that it depends highly on what happens with Cueto. If he resigns, it's probably going to be a decent sized deal. So are they going to have the money to spend on a contract
Could you
like that
imagine?
for Harper?
Could you imagine if Bryce Harper played all of his home games in Coors Field,
Oh
jeez.
my
Oh,
God.
where
jeez.
those balls would land?
He would hit
they-
probably 65 home runs.
Could you just?
Jeez.
I really want at some point in time here very soon
Home run derby at
a
Coors
home.
Field.
I want the All-Star game and home run derby at Coors Field. John Carlos Stanton mashed in San Diego. Could you imagine? He'd probably hit a plane flying over.
He might.
That's just nuts.
I got one more point on the Cardinals, and I want to get your thoughts, both of your thoughts on this statement that I'm about to make.
No.
The Cardinals can beat mediocre teams to bad teams, but they're kind of struggling against the more elite teams. The Nationals, they haven't. They laid an egg against early on in the season. The Red Sox, they lost 2. Now the Cubs, they beat over the weekend, 2 out of 3. But I just kind of get the feeling that the Cardinals are going to be struggling against the Nationals, the Dodgers, maybe the Rockies, the Cubs, teams like that. And the fact that they can beat the Braves or the Reds
I had to throw that one in there
or
first.
or the Blue Jays or whoever, that's fine. But you beat the teams you should, but you need to do better against the teams that are your caliber or better. I get the feeling that the Cardinals are going to be struggling with that all season long. Thoughts?
The way that I've always been told about Major League Baseball and how you're supposed to do about the other teams. You're supposed to beat the teams that are worse than you. And any team that's even with you or better, you would need to go 500
That's a good barometer.
because
That gets you 85, 90 wins.
exactly.
That's playoffs.
So that's and look, Nate made a good point because I was making fun of him about picking the Pirates. It is only May.
Of course.
I mean, you're talking month 2 of the season.
Of
It's like a
course.
quarter of the way through, and I understand that. But I tell you what, the biggest thing that you notice, and this is in any sport, what you can tell, Major League Baseball, when that All-Star break happens, miracles happen on the second half. Like things change and go a complete just circle.
That's when you start to separate the men from the boys.
Exactly. So you've seen teams. The Giants played like crap up until halfway last year, and then
No,
it
the
was-
Giants had the best
yeah,
record at the
up
All-Star
until
break.
and then got done at All-Star break and
Laid an egg.
fizzled off.
Mhm.
I mean, they still made the playoffs because the Cardinals just couldn't win ball games. But like you've seen things like that happen. It wouldn't be, I guess it wouldn't be any different if the Cardinals could do the opposite. They're not playing good against good teams now. Why can't they play good teams at the second half? Now you don't hope on that. You don't just, they'll be fine.
And the good news, if you want to call it good news, is that the Cardinals they've played the Yankees. They have 2 games left against the Red Sox. They do play the Orioles out in Baltimore in June.
That'll be a great series.
And then they have the Tampa Bay Rays, who they should hopefully beat. But I mean, when it comes to their interleague series teams, at least, the Cardinals have
They had a pretty tough schedule.
they had a tough schedule, and they've completed most of that tough schedule.
I think, honestly, I think the Cardinals are either going to squeak into the playoffs and play the one-game wild card, or they're just not going to make the
Yeah,
playoffs.
yeah.
If everything stays the way it is, if they don't make a change at the All-Star break, a significant change, I just have a feeling that's the way it's going to go. Now, having said that, momentum and hot streaks and things like that can change a lot of stuff. If the Cubs never pick it up, the Cardinals are going to be, in a much better spot to make the playoffs. If the Cubs go back to the Cubs of last year or even part of what they were last year, you're going to have a hard time beating them either way. So that's kind of my opinion on that.
You want to get to league news or more general league talk?
That sounds good because then we can talk about a little bit of
Sure.
Braves.
Do you want to get to Alex? Do you want to get to one missing piece, or do you want to do the
Let's
the
do
other-
the league news first, and then because I want to
Yeah,
talk about
so
the Braves and then
go ahead and
Blue
lead
Jays.
Lead that talk.
So if you guys didn't know, Braves and Blue Jays playing a series, 2 last place teams. I mean, it's not a whole lot going on unless you're a Braves or a Blue Jays fan. You're not really tuning into that game. And nothing against it. You're just not.
Yeah.
And
Oh, you were after that first game. You were tuning in for the bad blood and benches clearing.
I mean, that's the thing. Okay, so if you guys have listened to the show, I think we have talked about it on YouTube, and we probably talked about it on here too. Me and Paul like the bat flip.
Oh yeah, I love it.
It adds excitement. It adds fun, basically back to the
Make
game.
baseball fun again. Bryce
Exactly.
Harper, yeah.
But when you do it when you're losing and it literally means nothing, you don't bat flip. If you hit a homer, you put the bat down, you jog the bases, you go sit in your dugout, and then you go cry to your mom because you lost the game to a team that's probably going to lose 100 games. The Braves, I'm talking
Now
about.
they will.
Yeah, I know they're going to now. Yeah.
And the thing is, Jose Bautista, the part that just puzzles me, and I swear this guy's just looking for a fight. I literally don't think
He seems like he's a what they like to call a rabble rouser in Major League Baseball.
You're playing the Braves, you hit a homer, and you literally. And what's funny is the Braves player actually made Jose Bautista, the Braves pitcher, made him look like a chump. Because Jose Bautista is literally just sitting there looking at him, waiting for him to turn and look at him. And he's just like, Braves pitcher's like, nope, not doing it. And
I gotta insert something here. Eric O'Flaherty is back with the Braves for the second stint, and in a post-game interview after that, he said something to the effect of, "I can't believe he's ready to fight again after what happened last year." And then I also saw somebody took the picture of Odor hitting him last year
Yeah.
and put Jace Peterson's face on him. It was pretty good.
Jace Peterson from the San Diego Padres, the trade.
Yeah, the one that freaking Al Hrabosky has to say 4 times in a Cardinals Braves game.
No, it's who was it? Wasn't Al Hrabosky. It was Tim McCarver.
Oh, Tim McCarver. Okay.
Yeah, but look, I like the bat flip.
Yeah.
I think it is fun, and I'll tell you what, Jose Bautista, when he did the bat flip in Toronto in the playoff game,
That was epic.
that moment couldn't have been any more perfect for a bat flip.
Right.
There's nothing. If he would have set that bat down and jogged those bases,
That'd been pretty boring.
those fans would not have went that crazy. When that bat flew out of his hands, all of those fans went nuts. Nuts. Absolutely crazy. I'll tell you right now, there wasn't a Toronto fan in the stands at the Braves game that went completely bonkers because he bat flipped.
There was probably half Blue Jays, half Braves fans at
Yeah,
that game.
and the stadium still wasn't half full.
And the thing that compounds this for me is the fact that not only is the game borderline unwatchable, the Braves Blue Jays. Sorry, Nate. It was. I mean, like Alex said, I would never tune in to watch a Braves Blue Jays game, especially at least in 2017.
If you're not looking for a purpose like me, I would watch for Dansby Swanson. If you're not looking for a purpose, you're not
Right.
turning
Yeah.
into that.
If you're watching maybe a player, you could watch. But okay.
Right.
The thing is that Jose Bautista has had a terrible season.
Yeah.
He has nothing to bat flip about. I mean,
Especially in that game.
in the playoff game, like that season, he was fantastic. He was like the Blue Jays, like he was their cornerstone essentially. He was like the guy in that lineup that was really, really good. Do you want to know what he's batting this year?
I know it's below 200,
$198.
something like that. I want to say 190.
216.
Oh, it is above 200.
Wow, you know what it was? It was the bat flip.
Yeah,
That's what did it.
It's like
I'm-
what are you bat flipping about? Like
he
like
wasn't
you're-
winning the game.
You're not hot stuff. You suck. Sorry to tell you that. You don't need to be tossing
You know
bats
what?
every time you hit a home run
Let's-
when you're a below average player.
Let's
Yeah.
relate this to some people, Cardinals into the Braves. It would be like if Dansby Swanson went up, mashed a dinger, they're losing like 45-0 like normal, and he bat flips.
That would probably.
I can already see Nate standing up. Woo! 45-1.
No, that would not be me. And if he bat flipped, I would say the same thing I said when Bautista bat flipped. Why the hell are you bat flipping? You're losing the game. That isn't a record-breaking home run.
Your
not
team is
winning
in
the
last
game.
in the standings. No one gives a damn about the game. The Braves suck. The Blue Jays suck. Jose Bautista sucks this season. What are you bat flipping about?
That is the reason why people don't want bat flips in baseball. He just put it right there in front of everybody to give them all a reason why they should abolish the bat flip. Period.
Just get rid of it. And here's the thing too: is you said there wasn't a real far shot. I don't care if you hit the ball 500 feet in the air and it hits a car on the interstate. If you're losing the game, no bat flip.
I don't
Set the
know.
bat down, run your happy ass around the bases, and then sit down.
If you hit a car on the interstate, that's impressive. I'd be bat flipping.
Yeah, I know you would. But you're also not in the major leagues. You'd be causing fights all over the place. Nate would strike out and bat flip. That's kind of
That's probably the time.
He's strike out
Bautista
looking.
might try that next week. Okay.
Alex, continuing on with the Blue Jays Braves.
fiasco.
Then you have Kevin Pillar go out there and start yelling, anti-gay slurs.
At Jason Mott, a guy that has done everything he can to, a guy that actually started an organization called Strikeout Cancer gets that kind of a word thrown at him.
Doesn't he
That
have-
makes him a horrible human being because he wants to strike out cancer.
Doesn't he have a wife and children?
He does.
He does.
And we're shouting anti-gay slurs at him.
Okay, I understand where you're coming from, but let's be fair here. All right,
I know what you're
we've all
about to
been
say.
teenagers, and every guy has always said to his friends, doesn't matter if you're with a girl, one girl, 45 girls, 2 girls, doesn't matter. You've called your buddies that word.
Okay, but
You have.
you're in the major leagues.
Oh, I'm
You're
totally with
making
you.
You're
millions of
almost
dollars.
you're almost 30 years old. Like, you gonna grow up anytime soon?
It's the same thing. I have the same feeling about that as I do about fans yelling racial slurs or
This
yelling
really
at.
isn't all
at-
that much different from the Adam
It's not.
Jones.
You're in
I
front
think-
of you're in
I-
front of millions of people, and you have the nerve to open your mouth and yell that at somebody.
I think the racial slurs is way further than this.
Well, but
Because
it
of the
is-
same reason why you just said. We say things like that because we're guys and we like to screw around. So we say anti-gay slurs to each other because we're buddies. But I wouldn't ever say a racial slur to anyone.
I wouldn't say an anti-gay slur if I was in front of 10 people. I would do it one-on-one or one-on-two.
Right.
And I don't really think I'm not
When you
proud
do
of
it
that.
at a stadium in front of all these people, you're just asking for trouble and you're being a dumbass.
You know what should
period.
happen? If somebody does that, whether it's a fan yelling something onto the field or a player yelling at another player or a player yelling at a fan or something, every person that didn't say it should be allowed to stand in a single file line and punch that guy right in the face.
Leave it in the clubhouse. Like, say it to your teammates in the clubhouse.
I wouldn't even say. I would almost say it's not even clubhouse talk because I guarantee you. Well, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't guarantee you, but I would not be surprised if there is a gay person on the Blue Jays team
Well-
who has not come out.
That's a good point.
And if Kevin Pillar says that, and then if Joe Schmo gets offended, who he should rightfully be offended if Kevin
Joe
Pillar
Schmo.
says that.
I think part of Pillar's problem in this situation is he's finally removed his head from his anus, and he's finally hitting over 300. He's got some home runs. He's playing well, and I think he's just got a big head, and he's
Which-
above the world.
With Josh Donaldson hurt, he's the best player on the
It
team.
ain't gonna be Jose Bautista.
He's the
batting
best
216.
player on the team.
Right, but that doesn't. I mean,
That's
you-
why his
you-
head is so big.
You can't let that happen if you are the best player on the team.
Here's the thing.
Freddie Freeman would not go out and say something like that because he has more integrity than that.
and because he's a Braves player, of course. He
Well,
wouldn't say nothing
pick
like
a
that.
guy off the Cardinals. Adam
Well,
Wainwright
there's-
would not say something like that.
I tell you right now, you could probably name on your one hand of guys that would actually say something like that. Everybody else understands. Look, there's millions of people watching me. Kids, moms, dads, grandparents. All these people are watching me play a kid's game, supposed to be fun, but yet let's yell out things that shouldn't be said
Anywhere.
to anyone.
All right.
To anyone and anywhere. Whether it's just me and you're talking, like I said, I use it. I'm not proud of it. I've just done it.
I think maybe part of this has something to do with the aura the Blue Jays have had about them over the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, they have a very
They have a badass
tough guy.
yeah,
Villainistic.
tough guy.
Yeah, and there's a reason most, not most, but there's a reason why a lot of players, and there's a reason why a lot of teams hate the Blue Jays because they are very flashy. Whether you like that or not, that's the way they are. They're very flashy. They can be in your face, and they're gonna let you know what they think. Whether that's right or wrong, it's for you to decide. But there's really not much room for interpretation in how the Blue Jays act.
And
if you know what I mean.
And the thing is, too, you're talking about a bunch of guys literally like just last year won the division.
Well, I mean, they had how many players did they have hit almost 40 home runs?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You're talking about a team that still thinks that they're those guys, and when you don't
They're not.
perform, you get angry, you get upset, and then you start doing dumbass shit like that
I agree with you there.
in front of everybody in the stadium and everybody watching on TV. Because here's the thing. When you watch on TV, every now and then a word like that will slip through and you can hear it. They do a good job of blocking it out.
Yeah, no, it's kind of no. To be honest with you, it's something like I don't know. Hunter Pence he's going like a over 20 streak, and he can't hit anything, and then he has another pop up to make him over 21, and then he yells the F-bomb in front of everybody.
I've heard it plenty of times.
and the mics pick it up. No,
Yeah,
it's something
exactly.
sort of like that. Yeah.
So I don't know if it was picked up or not, but you as a player have to understand that could happen. You don't, if you're going to get mad at anybody, oh, I'm sorry, you got out. Well, that was the job the pitcher had to do. You make your money hitting. He makes his money pitching.
right.
So you can't be mad at anybody but yourself.
Right.
He did his job.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't.
Right.
There's nobody else that he can be mad at.
Right.
Anybody that can halfway read lips doesn't even need the audio to come across. I mean, you can see the GDs and the F-bombs and all that stuff just by looking at the player.
Yeah.
So it's not so much hearing it.
Now, to be fair, Kevin Pillar issued an apology, and it seems to be genuine. So
Here's my thing.
Because
I'll-
management came to him and said, if you don't issue a genuine apology, we're going to sit you down.
maybe, but
And that's the thing that really upsets me.
Maybe.
That's the thing that really upsets me. He came out with an apology. I don't think is enough.
It was that night.
He
he was
came
also suspended 2 games.
He got
Yes.
a 2-game suspension. In my opinion,
I was
not
shocked
enough.
by that.
Not enough.
I
Well,
couldn't believe
I
they
think it
actually-
would be more if the Blue Jays had room for had Josh Donaldson in the lineup or Troy Tulowitzki
in
or
my
whatever.
opinion, if I'm that GM, I don't care if there's nobody else on this team that plays as good as Pilar.
I'm just-
sorry, dude. You're sitting for.
I'm
you
just
know,
I'm just telling you how it is,
Oh,
or,
I know.
or
and
how I
that's-
think it is.
That's probably exactly how it is. But in my opinion, okay, let's say Jason Mott took that very personal. With everything that can go
in
wrong with that
general-
situation, could have went wrong.
In general, all of the suspensions that they hand out for anything need to be more harsh, in my opinion.
Sure.
Whether it be an anti-gay slur or domestic violence or even PED use, you're going to have players keep doing this stuff until you really crack down on
Talk to the NFL.
Dude,
it. And they need to be even better yet.
Yeah.
Look, since you talked about it, this is and the PED suspension thing. My personal opinion on that is you get one. That's your warning.
And that should
it.
be a year,
That's your year. If you get
not
caught,
80 games.
if you get caught a second time, done.
I'm
You're
glad
gone.
that they don't allow them to play in the playoffs.
That's an awesome rule.
That is
If the Pirates finish second, that just screwed them because
yeah.
one guy wanted to go out and
And
do
then-
something spectacular when he
and-
already had good talent.
and who's going to want that guy? You sign him to a deal. Say he leaves the Pirates and you sign him to a deal. And let's say he gets a second suspension. You just lost out on a year of that player that you thought you were going to have. We kind of got off topic there.
That's okay. Alex, let's get to the one missing piece because we still do have a bunch to get to. And I
Okay.
do want to get to an umpire discussion.
No, sweet Jesus.
We'll see if we have time. If not, then we'll push it off
we'll make
later.
time.
Yeah, so, okay. Nate, you listen to the show. You generally know how this works.
Yep.
I'm going to name off a team. I'm going to name off what they're kind of good at, kind of bad at.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to
Then
name...
you kind of decide if they're sellers, if they're buyers, and then we go
Got
from
it.
there. Pick some players that they need and move on.
Play GM.
Since we do have a third person, I do ask that it be a little shorter, and we're already 45 minutes through. So just
It's
trying
Nathan's fault.
to go on a
Yeah.
paragraph.
I
Okay,
know.
let's get to the Padres. We typically do the gutter teams first.
Sellers.
Padres, I don't even know if they're sellers because what do they have to sell really other than Will Myers?
I don't even think you sell him.
Yeah, and I don't think you can sell Will Myers. He's too good. I mean, he is a building piece. They have the
For what? They made a team around him and sucked.
The only players I see moving are veterans.
in the future, build around Will Myers. Am I right?
What? Yeah,
He's
but
still below 30.
What
I
is
g-
that?
I
What does that
understand.
mean? I don't know.
But
I'm not the Padres GM.
here's the thing:
but
is they got Will Myers right, traded from the Rays. Okay, that was their corner piece. What did they do the next offseason or whatever? They trade. I mean, they were buying pieces like crazy,
they shit the bed.
and showed up next season and were awful.
Mm-hmm.
So why would? Okay, let's try it again because your drafting's
Reds-
going so great.
Shouldn't the Reds build around Joey Votto?
Well, they do.
What does that look like, or is it going to work? That's a whole different question. But shouldn't you build around the best player you have?
San Diego does have some young players that are good. I mean, Hunter Renfroe is going to be a stud. He just needs some time. He shouldn't even be at the major league level right now. And I don't think Manuel Margot should be at the major league level either. But they're both having to play now because there's no one left to do it.
And
So
they
they're-
had the lowest payroll in baseball at $68 million.
Big surprise.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm totally shocked by that.
Yeah.
So
I think that
so,
they're
so
sellers.
they need more than one piece. We can agree with that.
I mean, I don't know what you sell.
Dude, in my
They're-
opinion, and it might be the wrong one, is you trade Will Myers and you get farm pieces, you get draft picks, you get whatever it takes, but you literally start that team.
from scratch.
You start rebuilding because as long as Will Myers is there, you're never technically rebuilding
Well,
because
That's
you're
right.
only focused on putting a team around him rather than gutting the whole thing and starting brand new. So I think you trade Will Myers to somebody that needs a first baseman, which there's a lot of those
and
teams out there.
he's a stud first baseman
Exactly.
because he can also steal bases and play defense.
Exactly.
send him to the Cardinals.
Or a team like Seattle. I mean, there's a bunch of teams that need first basemen. You sell him, you get your picks, you get your prospects, and you literally start that team from ground zero, and you build it back up.
Arizona Diamondbacks, I have their roster pulled up right here. They have one of the more underrated offenses in the league, in my opinion. Paul Goldschmidt doesn't get talked about enough. Drury over at third base and Jake Lamb over at third base. They're both studs. Yasmani Tomas is also very, very good. Where they're lacking is just pitching in general. I think if you have Fernando Rodney as your closer in 2017, you're desperate because I don't think he's a viable closer for any sort of team with any sort of realistic chances. And starting pitching wise, they have some names. I like Taijuan Walker, but he's not the same Taijuan Walker we saw in Seattle. Zach Greinke is obviously a stud. He's your ace. And then Pat Corbin and Robbie Ray just have not flourished the way the Diamondbacks have expected that they would. So and they're actually second in the American League. Or sorry, the National League West. So
Who's their catcher?
It's
Jeff
Iannetta.
Jeff Mathis.
Yeah,
as of right now, maybe or
they need an
you know,
upgrade.
Ionetta's on the 7-day DL.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
they
He
have
got
Iannetta.
smoked by,
Mathis is their backup.
he got smoked by a pitch in the teeth.
Right.
But Iannetta is their primary catcher,
Right.
which isn't half bad.
So, I mean, they have pieces there. So I have two quick questions. One, do they have staying power in the division? And two, if they do, what do they do? Or who do they get?
I think they need relief pitching. And
Exactly.
maybe
yeah,
a
that's
starter. I mean, I don't know. I'd like to see him trade some young players to the Braves for Tehran because
Here's-
he's trash.
Here's the thing. Here's what you do. This would be my first move. And I would probably do almost anything to get this done without giving up core pieces as much as possible. First call I'm making is to the White Sox. I want Quintana and I want David Robertson.
That's a good. I mean, you knock out two birds with one stone and
Exactly.
get a starter.
Now,
and a closer.
That's
gonna-
actually like a trade that could actually happen.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the point of this, Nathan. Have you not listened?
But I don't know if I've never heard Arizona's name in the talks for Quintana.
Well, we didn't think they'd be any good, and right now they're 24 and
No, that's
18.
true.
It's still early, but they were never supposed to be any good.
No, and how many times you've heard and there's a sleeper team in there that apparently nobody in the country knows who it is, and all of a sudden
They're
they're like,
always-
it's San Diego. They came and got him. And it's like
That's always the team that makes the deal. too.
exactly. And the Cardinals have been the sleeper team for years. That's why when you hear like, Ken Rosenthal, when you know that your Cardinal insiders are talking about a player and they're like, there's a sleeper team that's making good bid. We know who the sleeper team is. You can talk about it. Like, you don't have to keep it a secret.
Right.
They're going to be a sleeper team for players. In my personal opinion, those two moves make them that much better to maybe have that sustained
There are
power.
3 pitchers that are free agents after this year that could very well be on the market. Johnny Cueto, you said earlier. Yu Darvish, if the Rangers are not in contention, which they probably will be, and Jake Arrieta.
And
and
in my personal
not-
opinion, none of them get moved this year.
They may
I
not
don't-
get dealt, but those are 3 names that will be at the very least talked about.
I'm not sure that their farm system has anything to work with, though.
Who, Arizona? I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if
I mean, the majority of it went to the Braves in the Dansby Swanson trade. So I'm not sure who else they have left. And if you're talking about Quintana and Robertson, I'm not sure they have the pieces to get the job done.
with the White Sox asking price, especially.
well,
because
yeah, just Quintana's asking price was astronomical,
They're all
which could change.
astronomical.
Which could change depending on how well he's pitched, which I don't believe has been very good.
Mm-mm.
And who's interested still at the deadline.
I mean, a guy like Will Myers could help that team out too, and he's played outfield before.
Yeah.
That's another healthy bat in that lineup that
Although-
can bat by Goldschmidt.
Tomas, Pollock, and Peralta
Pollock, as one of our buddies says.
is a pretty decent outfield. I
Yeah.
mean,
It is.
Yeah.
Peralta and Pollock can play some defense.
Mhm.
I'm not so sure about Tomas, but
Tomas is kind of a chunky dude.
he
can
can
hit.
hit.
Yeah.
Yeah. In
But-
stereo.
I gotcha.
But in my mind, if you look at if you look at it, you say they need pitching because their offense and their defense looks fine. You knock out 2 birds
You do.
right away.
I agree with you.
That
Quintana,
trade
David
makes so
Robertson?
much sense that it may not happen. Seriously.
If they have the pieces, you'd be an idiot not to do anything you could to make it.
Exactly.
Don't get rid of any starters, but
If you
get the
have to-
pieces to
if-
get the job done.
The starters that are probably going to end up staying are like your Tomas, your
Goldschmidt,
Pollock, your Goldschmidt,
Drury, Lamb.
Drury and Lamb probably, but everybody else,
Peralta could go.
everybody else, in my opinion, can be free game. Because there's going to be guys that are going to be able to play those positions that are going to be satisfactory enough to still win ball games. What's the next one?
Off to Colorado. Their offense is just so good that I don't even need to list
They
off.
need the Boston Red Sox starting rotation.
They need starting pitching.
They need Trevor Story back.
They need Trevor Story. They need to get healthy too. They also have David Dahl hurt, Trevor Story hurt, John Gray hurt.
Their pitching really hasn't been that bad, though.
I saw some stat that they have like the most strikeouts like as a pitching staff in overall. In
They
the
have a
league.
couple rookies
They need.
that are studs.
This is my piece. They need a veteran pitcher
With
'Cause-
playoff experience.
with playoff experience, and namely one of the 3 names that I mentioned. How realistic is that? Probably not very, given Colorado's money, payroll. Given the fact that Cueto, Darvish, and Arrieta may not even be available, depends on how their teams are.
They won't be available.
But they, Greg Holland, their closer, has the most saves in the league.
I'm not sure he can hold it up
I mean,
because he
he may not
hasn't
hold it
pitched
up.
in a while. So
Right.
I see him really falling down.
But they have pieces.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They're first in the West right now, and
Oh,
they're
yeah.
and they're 10 games over 500.
You can pretty much mark Cueto off your list for them because the Giants aren't going to trade
Right.
him in division
Right.
rival. But
No, it-
those other 2 are possible, and I think Arrieta would be the
The piece they need.
really that's the one you want. The
You
guy
know-
who's been in the playoffs. He's a veteran pitcher. The sinker ball that he throws would be amazing in Colorado, I feel like, and that might just put him over the hump.
You know, one guy that we haven't mentioned on here because he just hasn't pitched well for a couple of years now, but
Who's
he
that?
actually led a team to the playoffs that hadn't been there in years. James Shields. He led the Royals to the playoffs. He was that veteran guy that was like, look, this is what's going to happen. You got to pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. Why can't he? He may not be your ace, but if he's there and can give you 6 strong innings,
Mhm.
why not? And that's a cheap piece. I mean, I
To
know the
me-
Chicago White Sox actually price is high, but if they're high on James Shields,
Oh.
they need to, like,
Yeah.
cool their shit
I
because
think-
that's not cool.
You know, I'm not sure he's the one I get if I'm looking for a postseason push because his postseason numbers are atrocious, worse than that of David Price. And like you say, it would be cheap. And if he can pitch like he has in the past, that would be a great deal for them to make. I agree with you there.
Him and he probably won't happen because the Pirates love him, but Ivan Nova would
Yeah.
be 2 good pitchers that could go to that team and maybe give them some solidification in that rotation. Grant, they don't need a piece to make a push. Technically, if it ended today, they're right there.
Right.
So getting those 2 pitchers, in my opinion, it could set them apart from a lot of teams.
But we would all overall agree that pitching depth for them,
Yeah.
given that whole situation. out in
Definitely a
Colorado was-
veteran because, I mean, John Gray is probably the one in their rotation that's
Mhm.
pitched more than anybody else, and
He's not much of a veteran.
I think he's 26 or 27 maybe.
San Francisco Giants.
They need a lot.
They need outfield in general, but they do need a lot. They could use more, but for me, the glaring hole is just the entire outfield. Hunter Pence is on the DL, but as of right now, their starting outfield is Eduardo Nunez out in left, Denard Span in center, and Justin Ruggiano in right. None of those 3 scream consistency or decency to me.
You know when Span is the best outfielder you have, that you're in trouble.
Their pitching, even without Bumgarner, is still pretty decent.
Yeah.
I think they could probably use another bullpen piece, just given the past 2 years with the Giants bullpen. But the guy that I like, who are 2 guys that I like that are also free agents this offseason, are J.D. Martinez from the Tigers and Justin Upton.
And those are both guys that have been talked about being traded.
Right.
I think J.D. Martinez is about the perfect fit for them.
Yeah.
And if I was the Braves GM, which I'm not, I would also trade Matt Kemp to the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a resurgency
Yeah,
being
he's
with the
been
Braves.
awesome with the Braves.
He's
yeah.
hitting 330, I
Which
think, or somewhere in
Paul
that
did
area.
not see. He laughed at me when I said that before the season started.
I didn't have much reason to believe Matt Kemp would be this good.
And it's another one of those things. When he hits midseason, with his age, it might be something that falls
Yeah,
off, and he
maybe.
might end up being a 285 hitter this year.
Mhm.
But
you know,
as of right now, he was a dark horse MVP candidate. As of right now, it's a little early to talk about MVP, but he was right there.
there's like 3 players that come to mind talking about the Giants: 2 outfielders and a third baseman. Because their third baseman isn't very good.
They got Christian Arroyo. They
Christian
just called him
Arroyo
up.
is the rookie. He's a pretty decent.
He's
third
okay.
baseman.
I think he's hitting 220.
Give him time.
But here's a guy that wants out. You could make a trade for him that fits this other team, and that's Evan Longoria.
Yeah, that's true too.
He
I like that.
wants out of Tampa Bay. He does not like Tampa Bay at this moment right now.
Mhm.
So you get him, right? Then guess who you're calling next? Mainstay in our segment here. You call those good old Chicago White Sox. You got Melky Cabrera that they're wanting to get rid of. They're not wanting to get rid of this guy either, as far as I know, but not a bad bat to have, and that's Avisel Garcia.
Mhm.
Those are 2 good outfielders. Maybe more on the expensive side compared to like J.D. Martinez and Matt Kemp, but those are 2 other good guys that could come in there and kill it.
I'm not sure they want Melky Cabrera back. He kind of hosed him a few years ago with the suspension for PEDs.
That's true. They may not go
Well,
back to that.
Yeah, but
that's
okay,
true.
so then
but he would definitely be an option.
he's a fit.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
a fit, yeah.
So in my mind, then if we're talking about it, I think if you can go out and you can make a trade for like a JD Martinez and an Evan Longoria,
Oh my gosh.
you've made a push that just might make you pass the Rockies in like 2 weeks' time.
That puts them above everyone else, I think. With the pitching they have, once Bumgarner gets back, any rotation led by Bumgarner and Cueto, you're talking Kershaw, Greinke.
And Samardzija, how you pronounce his name?
Samardzija.
Samardzija.
And, I mean, with those 2 pitchers leading a rotation in the playoffs, you're going to be down 2-0.
Are you kidding me? Bumgarner's leading the rotation and the bullpen when he's in the playoffs. What are you
That's
talking
true.
There you go.
He's going to close the game
There you
out,
go.
too.
It's going to be 2-0, and they're going to be going to the visiting team's ballpark.
Here's
it's
the
a
thing.
done
He's
deal.
going to get the free agency, and they're like, all right, we got a starting pitcher, closer, and relief pitcher, Madison Bumgarner, and he can do all three during the game. Watch
You know,
him.
he still hasn't made it to relief pitcher and closing pitcher in fantasy baseball.
I know,
That's
I'm
true.
kind of upset.
That's true.
Could you imagine putting him
ridiculous.
as your closing pitcher, goes 9 innings, doesn't
Yeah,
give
heck
up
yeah,
a run?
dude.
We got one more, and that's obviously the Dodgers. And I was looking through their depth chart. They're pretty set.
Talk about pitching depth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at the amount of starting pitchers
Yeah.
they have.
My only hole, first base. I mean, I don't like Adrian Gonzalez anymore. I think he's on the downside of his career. I think he's about done. He's been hurt lately.
He just came back.
He just came back, but his primary backup was Chase Utley, and I don't like Chase Utley. I would touch him with a 50-foot pole, personally. So I like a free agent this year, Eric Hosmer. That's who I think that they should go get from the Royals.
I think they need a second baseman. Logan Forsythe and Chase Utley is just not going to get the job done.
The
Forsythe has
problem,
been pretty good, though.
the problem the Dodgers are having is that they would rather play Utley over Forsythe. Every game,
think-
every Dodger game I've ever turned on this season, their starting second baseman is Chase Utley.
Well, that's
I
because Logan
think-
Forsythe has been hurt.
Utley is
He's been the DL.
Utley's a guy you want to keep around to have a clubhouse guy that's a proven veteran. Okay, you want to keep him around, but he's not a guy that needs to be an everyday player by any means.
Totally agree.
But the Dodgers, the depth of their outfield is ridiculous. They called up Cody Bellinger, who is mashing, can play first or outfield, and their starting pitching depth is ridiculous. Like they're talking about running like 6 and 7 man rotations. That's unheard of because they want them to be fresh for the playoffs.
I'll tell you who needs to get more significant starts on that team, and I think could flourish without a doubt, and that's Kike Hernandez.
The other day I turned it on, and he played shortstop, and they just had it was a bunch of guys that don't ever play. They had their starters
'cause-
sitting.
Right. Yeah, it was a game against the Giants.
Yeah, they had
I
their
watched it
starters.
too.
They had their starters sitting, and all these guys are playing, and they're still competing. That Kike Hernandez guy, every time I've watched him play, he hustles, he can hit, he can field,
got a
anywhere.
cannon.
Where you?
got a
He's
cannon.
played third, short. He's played second. He plays outfield.
He's played first.
I mean, who's their catcher right now?
Grandal, who's really good.
Yeah.
Grandal, but he's not even playing every day. They're switching time with Ruiz, I think,
Austin Barnes. it
or
looks like.
Austin Barnes.
Yeah, Ruiz.
Because I have
with
Grandal
Seattle.
on my fantasy team, and he's not everyday player.
Yes, he's
so-
on my team as well. Right.
but he can hit.
In-
Really, I feel like he's probably a first baseman,
Mm-hmm.
not really a catcher.
In
But
my opinion, Kike Hernandez, if Forsythe is hurt, Kike Hernandez is my second baseman every day.
I mean, I don't even know if Forsythe is hurt.
He is hurt.
I don't think. No, I mean, I don't think that matters. I think you play Hernandez or get another guy like Forsythe. I don't see Forsythe as an everyday player. Maybe that's just me. But
Pretty darn good job last year
He's
with the
pretty
Rays.
good. Yeah, he's been good. I mean, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt at least. Yeah.
he can play. But is he really an everyday player, or is he just hot streak? He's playing,
My hole for them that I think of right now is, and it's a guy that was, he's a well-renowned third baseman, and that's Justin Turner. And you know why I say that? Because that guy could go out and hit 30 bombs, but commit 50 errors. But as long as he's hit you 30 bombs, they're going to put him right there, and everybody thinks he's a superstar.
That's one of the greatest pickups of all times for the Dodgers.
It is. He's a great
He was
player.
He was nothing, and the Mets just let him walk. Dodgers pick him up, and he's dang near a superstar. I didn't know his defense was that bad until you said that.
It's not awful, but it's
I don't think he's a third baseman.
they value him higher than they do Evan Longoria. And I'll tell you right now, you give me the option of one of them two, Evan Longoria, you can come to my team.
Well, hell, let Turner play second base and go get Longoria.
Turner wouldn't be a good second baseman.
He'd be better than third.
He'd be better at first.
Marginally.
He'd be better at first.
Anytime he doesn't have to throw, run, catch, any of that, he would be better. Put him at catcher.
But that's
Oh wait, he's got a catch.
But that's the thing is he was like, oh, that's the top third base free agent of the offseason. Well, that's because he's the only one.
That's 'cause it was-
that
yeah, he was
technically
the
is a third baseman.
Yeah.
And to be honest, he played everywhere with the Mets. But he goes to the Dodgers, and they're like, look, you're our third baseman. And he changed everything about him as a player. He changed his stance. He changed his body, the way that he gets his body. Because if you look around the league, second basemen look different than third basemen.
I think he needs to shave his beard and cut his hair because it literally is so orange when you're watching.
All
the
right,
game.
all right. Yeah, we're talking about facial hair. Let's get back to baseball.
It does drive me nuts too. It's like, dude, dye that shit blue or red or something. What the
Yeah,
heck?
do
It's
something.
like a carrot running around.
Seriously. Okay.
Do we have time for umpire talking?
We
here?
do.
We do. We have about what, 15 minutes, Alex?
Yeah,
15, 20 minutes?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. So 2 weeks ago, I was talking about on this show the whole incident with the Orioles and the Red Sox and players getting tossed and benches clearing and tempers flaring. I was not here last week because I had teeth pulled from my mouth. So Alex
We could
gave
have done that right here in the studio. Why'd you pay for it?
that was a pain. Let me tell you that my teeth got pulled, right, and I was doing great for 2 days. Like I was setting the world on fire for the first 2 days. Third day
Because
hit.
he was high on the medication.
No, seriously, no. I was doing wonderful, and then the third day hit. What killed me was that it got infected. So
Bummer.
my neck, like my lymph nodes, were like
did you
swelling
leave
up.
cotton
And
swabs in there?
nope, nothing. It's just a random chance occurrence. It just happened to get infected.
See, when I did mine, they were like, anytime that, basically until they stop bleeding, leave cotton swabs in your
Right,
mouth.
the gauze.
And pop the medication like you're supposed to, otherwise it's going to hurt
Yep.
like crazy. I was literally a zombie for like 2 weeks.
I was great, and then it's just a random. I mean, with every surgery, there's a chance of things getting infected, and I just rolled the dice, and I got unlucky, and I got infected, so I couldn't talk for 3 days, and it was
Bet
just
your
terrible.
parents felt like that was a nice treat.
It was terrible. So I had to go back in and get put under again, and they had to solve the infection, but it's all good now. So I wasn't here last week to discuss the whole Blue Jays Red Sox thing, Alex. But you did give your thoughts on it. I don't
was
have
the Orioles Red Sox.
Yeah, Orioles Red Sox. I'm sorry.
Jesus.
I'm getting
I
my
didn't even notice.
I'm
you
getting my
misspoke.
birds confused.
Having a civilized
Come on, it's
show
simple.
here.
So
about
Cardinals are
knowledge.
red.
Blue Jays are blue.
Yes.
We're trying.
Orioles are orange. Right?
We're trying to be in here, have a good, smart, intellectual show, and it's the Orioles and the Blue Jays. Blue and orange are so much alike.
But Alex, you and I fundamentally disagree on the handling of whoever the home plate umpire was tossing. Was it Kevin Gausman
Yeah.
from the game? And again, I don't know the specific details at this point because it happened 3 weeks
Yeah,
ago.
they tossed him from the game,
But
because he threw a off-speed pitch to him
77
in the
mile an
back.
hour pitch at
Yeah,
Bogarts.
which is
I
total.
believe it was.
I don't think it was at Bogarts, but
But
directed.
it hit
hit
it.
him.
But it hit, yeah. I agreed with the umpires tossing. You did not agree. Nate, I do not know your thoughts. Should that have happened? Yes or no? Should the umpire have tossed Gausman on the spot? Yes or no?
Well, I don't think he should have been tossed on the spot because it was a curveball. And
Okay.
I think maybe he did just miss location. If you're going to hit somebody, you're going to throw
you're
a
gonna hit 'em.
fastball.
Yeah.
Right. And,
you're
and
gonna
that
make sure they feel that.
And that goes right back to the conversation we had about the Blue Jays and Braves because the first pitch Bautista saw the next night was a fastball, the hardest fastball Terran's thrown in 2 years, and it hits him right in the hip. I
Right.
mean, if you're going to hit somebody, you're going to mean to hit him, and I understand the umpire trying to keep things from getting out of hand, but I think he had a little quick trigger on that one.
This goes to our overall general discussion here about umpiring in general. There's two different topics here. One of them is the ejection, and I want to defend the home plate umpire here again on the show in front of Alex because since the whole scheduling conflict for the past 2 weeks, I'm going to reiterate basically just what I said, and then I want you to reiterate what you say, and then Nate again chime in. Your goal number one as an umpire is to officiate the baseball game. That's why you're there. You are an official of the game.
Thought they were there to sell concessions. Been asking the wrong people my whole
Sell
life.
beers.
Hey, Blue, you
Go
want to give me
Bear.
some popcorn?
Hey, Blue, you got a beer?
Hey, Boo.
So your next objective, which I think these are kind of 1 and 1A, is to make sure things are civil. if you aren't civil, you're not going to officiate the game in a fair manner. And if you don't officiate the game in a fair manner, things won't be civil. I don't care what the league said or didn't say before that game. But as an umpire, you know the history of the teams coming in. Again, I do 13-year-olds. That doesn't mean crap.
That means Paul is just
that doesn't
tossing
mean
13-year-olds.
That doesn't mean I actually have never rejected one person, and I'm going to try and keep that streak
Enjoy
alive.
from the parking lot.
So, but it doesn't matter whether you're doing 13-year-olds or Major League Baseball. But you know the history of the teams, of the managers before you head into the game. If I know that I'm doing we'll call the team the Bombers, and the Bombers coach is a grade A asshole, I don't.
Showing some skin.
You kind of have to officiate the game in a different manner. You still call it in a fair and decent way, but you know that if that coach comes out at you or gives you any lip, you have to treat him a little differently than you would somebody who's generally very respectful and generally not going to be showing any malice towards you.
I think that's kind of baloney.
You know the history coming in of the coaches of the teams. I don't care what the league said prior. You know that coming in, and if you take matters into your own hands, I support you, home plate umpire.
My thing is I think the number one overall rule of an umpire is to be impartial in every part of the game. And I think that home plate umpire was not
partial
impartial
towards the Red Sox.
Exactly. I think that he was like, oh, he hit somebody, well, trying to toss him. Because it was, like we've said, was a curveball. How many times have you seen a pitcher throw a curveball and it slip and hit somebody in the back? Not on purpose. Even the hitters will tell you that wasn't on purpose. And you see no coming back to do it to the other team. You see none. My opinion,
That needs to stop as well. I'll go ahead and
What?
throw that in there. The retaliation hitting players.
it does when it becomes too much.
Are we little kids just trying to get back at each other? Like you're men, you're playing a game. If you get hit, take your base and be done with it.
But here's the thing: if Manny Machado spiked Dustin Pedroia, in his next at bat they hit him, and it's done. It's over. Move on.
That's what should have happened.
Exactly. And it's done and it's over and you move on. I'm okay with that. But when you wait a whole day and then the ball that comes close to hitting him is at his head, that's gone way too far.
Well, the only way you're going to get away from the throwing at the head is to eliminate the retaliation altogether. I don't know how you go about it or what you do, but you don't let him throw. Because if you're throwing a fastball at somebody, who's to say it doesn't go from the hip and get up on him and get him somewhere by the face?
I understand your point, and I agree with you. But you're talking about guys who are making a living off of putting pitches in a square. You're telling me he can't hit one guy standing still with a straight 4-seam fastball? If you can't hit a guy standing still with a fastball,
You shouldn't be pitching.
don't pitch. He's not moving. The target's not going nowhere.
That brings up the question then. You can't put the curveball in the square. You get paid to do that, but you hit him in the hip with the curveball.
Throwing a curveball is a much different motion and
Yeah.
much
But
different.
you're a
way
major league
way
pitcher.
you grip a baseball.
You're a major league pitcher. You're
Yeah,
getting
but-
paid to throw curveballs.
Yeah, but we're all human. Major League Baseball players are human too.
I'm not disagreeing with you. There are fastballs that do get away.
There you go. That's
I'm
what
not
I'm
disagreeing.
looking for.
But what I'm telling you is the way that it should have gone down, the way that it's always gone down, except for this situation right here this year. Apparently, it's changing the way things are going because now people are bat flipping and all types of shit. That next at bat of Manny Machado should have been a hit on the hip, on the leg, on the butt cheek. I don't care, and then it's over. The problem is somebody on the Red Sox took it upon themselves to get retaliation for Dustin Pedroia in the wrong way. Because even Dustin Pedroia looked at Manny Machado and was like, that's not me. I would have hit you the next at bat. I wouldn't have waited the next day.
Yeah, somebody was butthurt from the Red Sox.
Somebody.
Was that late in the game when that happened?
When the original slide happened?
Right.
I don't know.
Because maybe did he have an at bat after that?
Yeah. That's
Okay.
what made
Okay.
it. That's what made it drawn out.
Right.
Was he had? They might have actually waited 2 days. It might have been
I
2
don't-
days.
I don't
think-
remember.
I thought it happened on a Friday, and then Machado was hit on a Sunday.
Yeah, so it would have been like 1 full
Okay.
day. Anyway, his next at bat, if he's hit, it's over. But when you have Kevin Gausman going out there, had no part in the scuffle other than that was his teammate that got thrown at. Situation was handled, this, that, or the other, if you want to call it that. Throws a curveball in the second inning and hits somebody. That's not a mean for the umpire to come out and go, "You're gone."
But
That's total crap to me. That's not being impartial.
but he's not. I mean, it wasn't very. I will admit that it's not very impartial, but you still have to know the history. If
That's-
if
that
you're
was
not,
that was a very young umpire as well. I don't think
I-
he's called very many games.
I don't give a damn how old that umpire is. If he's been living at all the past week before that, he would know.
I don't mean
but
that.
there is
But
no
that's-
way in hell
that's not
that he does not know. Okay, these Red Sox and the Orioles, they have not been getting along. He needs to sort of tighten his fists when
Okay,
it comes to how
if-
you officiate.
if
the game.
that's how he felt, he should have issued warning before the game.
Maybe they should
rather than
Maybe
just
they
coming
should've.
out and saying, "You know what?
I'm not sure you
Done.
can just issue a warning
You
walking
can't.
out onto the
No.
field.
You can go to
You
each
can.
clubhouse
Mhm.
before the game and say, "Look,
Yeah.
there's been
Well, then,
things
yeah,
going
he probably
on."
should have.
Maybe
He should have went to each dugout or each clubhouse and said, "Here's your warning. If somebody hits somebody, they're gone." He didn't do that.
maybe that's what should have happened.
He
Well,
took it
and that's
upon
why
himself to toss someone.
That's why I made a comment about his age. I feel like not that he didn't know or whatever you want to say, but that maybe the way he handled it wasn't the way it should have been handled because of his inexperience.
Maybe. I mean, you told me before the show that you have experience umpiring as well, and I want to get to the second question.
Okay.
Before we get to the preview, do umpires affect the outcome of the game? You know me; I'm very pro umpire. I don't think they have any outcome or any effect on the outcome of the game, especially with replay. There's no way. But you had like the Cardinals Red Sox the other night on Wednesday, where the umpire strike zone was not very good. I saw the numbers afterwards. Typically, umpires get about 89 to 91% of the balls and strikes called correctly. This guy got 80%. That's not good. But some people might say that the Cardinals were cost the game because this umpire strike zone was crap, which it was crap. But that's not why the Cardinals lost. I want to get your thoughts on do umpires affect the overall outcome of the game? Because a lot of fans think they do. A lot of butthurt fans think they do.
I think it depends on the level that we're discussing at the major league level, minor league, college, high school, and down.
Major league level.
But at the major league level, I think they do not because you've been playing the game long enough. If they make a call you don't like, say he calls a strike on an outside pitch, okay, you move on. You still have to play through that, okay? That's something that's part of the game. That's part of playing through adversity. Not all the calls are always going to go your way, even with replay.
Mm-hmm.
Because with the replay, if it's not indisputable evidence to overturn it, they don't overturn it. I've seen many where they call the player out at first base when they show the replay. Runner hits the bag as the guy catches the ball. They still call him out because that's not indisputable evidence. He did not beat the ball there, so they have to stick with the call they made. It's not a matter of getting the calls right. It's a matter of playing through the calls, whether they're right or wrong. You're going to get hosed on a call here and there.
And to me, the key stat in the major league to sort of prove that umpires don't affect the outcome of the game is the left on base. The runner's left on base.
You had chances.
If you had a runner on second base with nobody out and he didn't score, that's on you. I don't care how bad the umpire was.
You can't blame the umpire for everything.
Right.
No,
And-
I mean,
and a lot of
and no
people
matter
do.
what, the umpire's going to blow calls and you're going to get pissed off. That's just the way it goes. But there was a prime example, and I think it was in that same game we were talking about that you and I watched, the Giants and Dodgers. There was a play in center field. Or no, I'm sorry. It was Yankees and somebody else. And there was a fly ball, and he actually caught it. The umpire said he did not catch it. So that caused Didi Gregorius to go from second to third, thinking that he didn't catch it.
Mhm.
Well, then they ended up a bunch of crazy crap happened. Well, then they go to the replay and say, "Oh, he did catch it." Well, now what do you do?
Yeah, where
Because
does
you have to.
Gregorius go?
Where does he go? They sent him back to second base because the only reason he advanced is because the umpire said, "Hey, the ball's down. He didn't catch it."
Mhm.
So there's still room for error, and I don't think the answer is robots because we know how machines and electronics work. So you just have to leave the umpires out there, and whatever happens, happens.
Okay,
Alex,
so
go ahead.
now here's my part because I'm kind of in the middle, a yes and a no. Certain instances, like the Kevin Gausman thing, tossing him with no warning given, looks like a complete accident hit by pitch. That could have affected the outcome of that game. If Kevin Gausman pitches that whole game, that game could have went very different. Now hold on, because I'm with you.
Anything that the umpire calls can affect the outcome
and
of the
that's
game.
the question: does an umpire affect the outcome of the game? His
Can.
decision can affect the outcome of the game.
Okay, say Gausman comes out and they put in somebody else, and he's just a fire thrower, and he doesn't give up a single hit the rest of the game. Did the umpire affect the game
Yeah,
in a bad way or a good way, and for who?
depends on who you're wanting.
There you go.
But that's he can affect the outcome of the game.
Of
okay,
course he can.
Okay, let's do it this way. Let's say Dexter Fowler's on second base, Matt Carpenter's up to the plate. The strike zone for let's say you're in the fifth inning. The strike zone has been consistent. All of a sudden, that umpire decides, "Oh, I'm going to give you about 3 extra inches on the outside."
Balls and
doesn't-
strikes
he
is the one
doesn't-
that just drives me up a
He
wall.
doesn't tell nobody. He just makes that decision on himself. So Carpenter's already had at least one at bat, maybe 2 at bats. He knows the strike zone by now. If that umpire comes out and is like, "Well, I'm stretching the strike zone today," what does Matt Carpenter got to do?
Well, here's the
Adjust.
here's the thing
That's
on that.
bull crap.
It's
He
not
knows
bull-
the strike zone. The strike zone hasn't changed for half the game.
Well,
And then the umpire takes it upon himself to
comes
go,
to-
"Well, I'll give you 3 extra inches on the outside,"
When
and
it
it gets
comes-
rung up on 3
It's
pitches.
not about that.
When it comes to balls and strikes, it especially drives me up a wall, is if the umpire is going to give a little on the outside, give a little on the inside, whatever, I get it. But be consistent about it. If you're not consistent, then go retire. But
Consistency is the key.
if you're giving an inch on the outside the entire game for both teams and nobody can adjust, that's kind of on them because
It is.
making adjustments is part of playing sports.
But how many times have you watched a game where the strike zone is the same for half the game? You're like, "Okay, this is a good strike zone. I like this." It may be crap strike zone compared to the game
When
before,
it changes,
but at least
that's-
it's consistent. But then in the 6th inning, in a tie game, all of a sudden your team's up to bat, and he's like, "You got a runner on second base," and he's like, "Well, all right, I'm giving you 3 extra inches on the outside." That's crap.
I don't think the umpire says in his mind, "Okay, for the next 3 innings, I'm widening the strike zone." It's
No,
not
I
that.
don't- yeah.
I umpire. It's not a matter of that. It's a matter of you're going to miss some pitches, and if you're thinking fastball, which you're not supposed to think, so you're just sitting there and waiting. But if the pitcher fools you, you're probably going to miss the call.
Yep. Oh,
Well,
I guarantee you'll miss the call.
Missed calls happen. But what I'm telling you is I've seen it. You've had games where the strike zone is consistent through 6 innings. Through 7 through 9, it's different. Consistently different. This is consistent through these 3 innings. This is consistent through 6.
His eyes got tired.
That's correct.
I'm just kidding.
But
I don't
that's
know.
unfair to,
There-
and that's not. I'm saying that's unfair to just my team or your team or this team.
I
It's
agree.
unfair to both teams,
There is
and
one-
it can affect the outcome of that game because
Anything
he widened
can.
that strike zone.
Anything can affect the outcome of a game. Anybody on the field can affect the outcome
There
of a
is
game.
And the
one
question
call-
is can an umpire affect the outcome of a game? And
can.
I say yes and
Okay,
no.
fair enough. There is one thing specifically, Alex, that I think illustrates your point. In Wednesday night's game, it was Vic Porcello on the mound. It was fairly early on, maybe towards the middle of the game. Sandy Leone was catching, and Porcello threw Carpenter a very high strike. And the umpire, he flinched, and he called it strike 3. End the inning. Carpenter was pissed. But what I saw and what actually happened was Sandy Leone popped up and started to walk away, essentially as he was catching the ball. The umpire never had a good chance to see it. Have you ever done balls and strikes and catchers move on you? There's nothing more frustrating as a home plate umpire when a catcher moves on you as a pitch is coming in.
You can't.
The ball was above the letters. I guarantee you, if Sandy Leone had not moved, he would not have called it strike 3 because it was above the letters and it was borderline unhittable.
Bad catchers make bad umpires
Yeah.
because they can't catch the ball
Mhm.
and receive the ball well from the pitcher, and if they're standing up and moving around, you don't get a good look
Right.
at it. Period.
So, Alex, I just think that it sort of goes to your point of it needs to be consistent, one way or the other, almost one way or the other. And when there's inconsistency, that's when there's issues. Anyway.
Exactly. And like I said, yes and no. Because you have
Okay.
umpires that are good, but you have umpires that all of a sudden are just like, well, you know what? I'm wanting to get this game over with. Let's do this. Not saying that might be the case.
That's
but,
not it ever.
But I'm saying that those things happen and they affect a game.
Right.
That can change a game. But it changes the game for both teams, not just one or the other.
Anyone on the field at any time can affect
Exactly.
the game.
Agreed.
Yes.
And he's on the field. That was a question. So
He
the answer is
can.
yes.
Do I think they do like everyone else thinks they do? No.
No, they're not out there going, oh, that was clearly a ball. It hit him. That's a strike 3.
Do you mind if we get to series previews?
Nope.
Wrap
let's
this up.
Wrap this up.
Okay, so the Cardinals have 3 games against the Giants at home. It's actually a pretty tough stretch for the Cardinals for the next really 2 weeks or so. The Cardinals have the Giants at home. Then they go out west early next week to Los Angeles for 3 against the Dodgers. And then when I'm back here next week, I'll preview the Rockies at the Rockies next weekend. But for now, just the Giants and the Dodgers. So for Friday, Michael Wacha versus Matt Moore. Saturday, your pitchers are going to be Carlos Martinez versus Jeff Samardzija. Sunday, your pitchers are going to be Adam Wainwright versus Matt Cain. Injuries-wise, the Cardinals, I think Johnny Peralta is going to be back probably sometime this weekend.
Yay.
Steven Piscotty should be back soon as well. Giants, obviously Bumgarner is out, and also Hunter Pence is out. Those are the only 2 really big notable injuries. Players to watch. I want to get one player to watch from each team. Please make it very, very quick. For the Giants and the Cardinals, Nate, I'll start with you.
Christian Arroyo for the Giants, and for the Cardinals, I'll have to say Wong to see if he'll keep it up.
Okay. Alex?
Mine for the Cardinals is Dexter Fowler, and then for the Giants is Brandon Crawford.
Okay. Let's move on to the Dodgers. I will give.
You don't give.
Well, I'm trying to speak. I mean, 2 opinions. We usually have
man,
2 opinions.
It's up to you, man.
Dodgers, it's going to be. We do get Kershaw, unfortunately, so that's going to be
The
interesting
Cardinals
to
kill
watch.
Kershaw.
That's true.
Yeah, but it's still Kershaw.
I'm not scared.
Still Kershaw.
So the Cardinals have a day off on Monday, and they head out to Los Angeles on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Game 1 starters are going to be Lance Lynn and Rich Hill. Wednesday.
If he doesn't get a blister by then.
Yeah. Wednesday starters are going to be Michael Wacha versus Hyunjin Ryu. Wednesday is Mike Leake versus Clayton Kershaw, and then Thursday is Michael Wacha versus Hyunjin Ryu. Injuries-wise, for the can't talk.
For the Dodgers.
For the Dodgers. Justin Turner is day-to-day. I would assume he'll be back by then. Who knows?
Pansy.
Kenta Maeda is hurt. He is on his way back. He has a rehab start tonight. This is May 19th. Scott Kazmir, he's also out. This just goes to show all the Dodgers pitching depth
Unreal.
that we talked about earlier. And then Logan Forsythe is on his rehab assignment, and he should be back for the Cardinals series as well. Players to watch for the Dodgers. Alex, I'll start with you this time.
Obviously, you got to go Clayton Kershaw. Just because
Yeah.
it's Clayton Kershaw. For the Cardinals, the other person in that matchup is Mike Leake. Mike Leake's pitching out of his shoes right now.
When does he come back down to earth? Who knows when that'll happen?
Hopefully never.
Yeah.
I would say Cody Bellinger just because I like watching him mash, so I hope he gets to play. And then I think Mike Leake would be the player to watch in that series as well.
I'm going to go Cody Bellinger and Mike Leake as well. I was actually going to say those 2. Cody Bellinger, if you have not watched him, please do take an
gosh.
opportunity. You know, the Cardinals have 6 games against the Dodgers. You have next week, and then the week after they come here. So please do watch Cody Bellinger. He's a stud. And then my player, obviously, also for the Cardinals, is Mike Leake. Gentlemen, is that all we have for today's show? It was
Yeah, it was a pretty long show.
pretty good discussion, though. Pretty good discussion. Nate, we once again thank you for joining us
fun.
today. Again, don't be shy. Come on in.
Oh,
We'd be
I'm
happy-
sure
Nate
I'll be
being
back.
shy, you're funny.
I'll be back.
I'm happy to have you, and
I'll be back.
keep wearing that Brave stuff, and
I will.
keep defending the Pirates. Whatever.
I don't know if I'll do that part.
Alex, have fun on your vacation next week. I will be in the show, probably here by myself once again. It might be a little shorter of a show, but I'll still be here. Alex, I guess I won't see you again until August. But
yeah. So have fun in New York.
thank
Safe
you.
travels and
Thank you.
call in whenever you can. I guess.
I
I guess
will-
whenever Nate's not here, you can call in.
I will.
I'll let you.
Is he gonna replace me? So yeah, I'll go more into detail about the future of the show next week when I'm here, sitting here by myself. But that is all for today's show. We want a solid hour and a half of very, very good baseball discussion. I liked it. Thank you, Nate, for joining us. Thank you to Lineup Media for hosting us. Alex, it was a pleasure once again, and I will talk to you soon.
All right,
This
buddy,
has
see ya.
been the Lineup Media production for May 19th. This is the 11th inning stretch. Thank you for joining us, and have a great weekend, everybody.